For all my videos, I give away an Amazon gift card. To find out how to win, please like, comment, and subscribe. Noor is a lonely guy with big dreams of becoming an adventurer. But there's one problem. Every single one of the 6 adventurer schools kicks him out. In his time at those schools, he barely picks up the most basic skills, like the swordsman skill called Parry. However, he trains day in and day out, hoping something new might click. What he doesn't realize is that by sticking with it, he's pushed his skills to insane levels, way beyond human limits and even stronger than the masters who once taught him. Before all this, Noor lives with his father and mother high up in the mountains. His father often tells him stories about great adventurers, and Noor loves them. But tragedy strikes when his father passes away. Noor's mother raises him alone, but soon she also falls sick. Noor helps care for her, but she eventually dies too. With no family left, Noor decides to follow the dream his father inspired in him. He sets out to become an adventurer, hoping to live up to the stories he grew up hearing. Noor travels to the royal capital, determined to join an adventurer guild. When he arrives, the guild master tells him he must first attend a training school. Noor enthusiastically agrees, eager to start his journey. He joins one school after the other and puts in a month of effort. He works hard and does everything asked of him. Despite this, he fails every class. The only skills he manages to learn are extremely basic. He picks up how to light a tiny flame, heal small wounds, enhance his body slightly, throw stones, resist poison, walk quietly, and most importantly, parry. Unfortunately, all this hard work isn't enough to impress the guild master. The guild master refuses to hire him. Noor feels disappointed but doesn't give up. Instead, he makes a decision. He will master every basic skill he learned. Noor might be the world's most optimistic disaster, but at least he's consistent. 10 years pass. Noor is no longer a boy. He becomes a young man who can parry 1,000 swords in 1 second. That's not a skill. That's a party trick no one would want to challenge. Feeling confident, he returns to the guild. This time, the guild master feels sorry for him and hires Noor as a low-ranking F-rank adventurer. But there's a catch. Noor isn't allowed to go on real quests. Instead, he spends his days doing manual labor around the city, like moving boxes and cleaning the streets. He wanted to be an adventurer, but now he's more like the city's unpaid intern. One day, while working near a cave, Noor hears a cry for help. Inside, he finds Lady Lin, a noblewoman, and her guards under attack by a minotaur. Most of the guards are already down. With nothing but his parry skill, Noor steps in to defend her. Noor decides to use his stone-throwing skill. He doesn't expect it to defeat the minotaur. He just needs to get its attention. Surprisingly, it works, and the Minotaur King turns its focus to him. Well, he may not be a warrior, but at least he's a good distraction. The girl watches, thinking that Noor is done for. Noor dodges the Minotaur's attack, realizing that its strikes are not only heavy, but also fast. Despite being able to parry, the force behind the blow nearly knocks the sword out of his hand. Noor knows he can't keep deflecting the beast's attacks forever, so he starts looking for a chance to fight back. But then he remembers something. He doesn't have any skills for counterattacking. Then the Minotaur King swings his weapon, aiming right at the girl. In a last-ditch effort, Noor uses his strength enhancement and parries, but the cost is his sword, which shatters on impact. Noor wonders if he is going to die here. He looks at his broken sword and wonders if this is how it ends. But then, in a strange twist of fate, the shattered sword deflects the Minotaur's attack and somehow decapitates it. Noor stands there, completely stunned. The girl watches in shock as Noor defeats the Minotaur, and just as she's about to thank him, Noor disappears without a trace. He doesn't stick around for applause. Looking down at his trembling hands, Noor realizes something. He needs more training. Lin's brother, Lord Rein, uncovers a dark and dangerous secret. The Minotaur wasn't just a random monster attacking for no reason. It was summoned by magic with the specific goal of killing Lin. Behind this plot is King Doritas from the magic empire of Doritas. He has a plan to start a war and take control of the labyrinth of the lost for himself. Rumors spread quickly throughout the streets. People talk about a strange figure who appeared with a rusty iron sword and killed Milo Talos in only 2.5 seconds. After the battle, the prince sends a special team to investigate the situation. However, the team is mistaken for perverts by Noor, who sends them running off in confusion. They leave quickly, unsure of what just happened. When Noor returns to the guild master feels worried. He has heard of a rare monster that appeared near the construction site where Noor had worked the night before, and he fears something might have happened to him. Noor explains to the guild master that he was simply too tired after finishing a difficult mission the day before. He went home to rest but stopped by his grandmother's house to clean her drain along the way. This explains why he looks so dirty. Hearing this, the guild master feels relieved. He then shares his concern about the monster from the previous night, describing it as terrifying. He says that even he, a former A-rank adventurer, would not have been able to escape if he had faced that creature. Fortunately, it was slain by a mysterious man. Noor breathes a sigh of relief, thankful that he had only encountered a cow, not something worse. After he settles the payment for his work yesterday, Noor gets ready to accept a new mission. But before he can, a voice stops him from behind. It is the girl he saved the day before, the one who nearly scared the guild master to death. The guild master clearly knows who she is. The girl approaches Noor to thank him for saving her life. However, since the place is crowded, she asks if they can speak privately outside. When the guild master hears this, he quickly steps in. He warns Noor to be careful and not to offend the girl, mentioning her special status. He also advises Noor to avoid drawing attention to them. The girl then uses her sound shield and concealment skills, making it impossible for the nearby soldiers to notice them. She apologizes for using a remote sensing skill to find Noor and for taking him away while talking to the guild master. To repay Noor for saving her life, her father wants to meet him. He is ready to offer his family's wealth as a thank you. However, Noor feels that defeating a cow in the town is no big deal. He thinks a simple thank you is enough. The girl is surprised by this and insists on giving Noor something in return. But Noor doesn't want anything. He never expected the girl to start crying as she speaks. She tells him that she will stay by his side until he is willing to accept her thanks. Seeing how determined the girl was, Noor is reminded of his own childhood. He had been just as persistent in wanting to become an adventurer, always begging his teacher to let him train. Because of this, Noor agrees her request, though he makes it clear that he won't accept any overly extravagant gifts. In an instant, the girl takes him to a huge mansion. At that moment, Noor understands why the guild master had warned him to be careful. The girl must come from a very wealthy family or be part of the nobility. The girl's name is Lindbergh Clays. On the way, they meet a female knight named Eanes. When Eanes learns that Noor is the one who saved Lindbergh and that he is going to meet her father, she decides to lead the way. Noor mistakes Eanes for a maid because of her armor. He wonders how she manages to clean while wearing such heavy gear. However, for some reason, he feels that Eanes is very cautious around him. They don't walk far before they meet a blonde knight. The knight sees Noor walking behind Lindbergh and must assume he is the powerful adventurer people have been talking about in the rumors. The blonde knight, seeing his clothes, thinks Noor looks weak. However, before he can say anything, Eanes steps in. She suggests they all go to the hall together, quietly adding that more guards are always better. The blonde knight quickly realizes that the unremarkable man in front of him is not as simple as he looks. Meanwhile, in the hall, the king and his son, Rian, are talking about the possible start of a war. The neighboring country has broken a non-aggression treaty. The situation has become serious and war seems unavoidable. They explain that Milo Talos, who had been summoned earlier, was part of a plan to force the king to hand over control of the labyrinth. If the king refused, more threats would follow. When everyone arrives in the hall, the knights all kneel. Noor, who is from a remote area and is not of noble birth, feels out of place. He doesn't know the proper etiquette for such an event, so he apologizes in advance for any mistakes he might make. However, the king is pleased by this. He doesn't mind the lack of formality and actually finds it more comfortable to speak this way. The king thanks Noor again. He says that without Noor's help, his daughter might not have survived. Noor, not too concerned, thinks that accepting the thanks means he can soon return home, take a bath, and rest. The king insists that Noor cannot leave without a reward. He offers Noor land or wealth, whatever he desires. However, Noor does not want anything. This confuses the king. He then remembers that the kingdom has the world's oldest labyrinth filled with rare treasures stored in its treasure hall. The king decides to offer Noor half of the treasures there, but Noor still refuses. The king, not knowing what else to offer, notices the greatsword behind him. The sword, while not very impressive, was once used by the king himself. It has since become nothing more than a decoration. The king worries that Noor might turn this down as well, so he suggests that since he retired many years ago, the sword would be better in Noor's hands than left to gather dust. When Noor grabs the sword, he feels its heavy weight. With his enhanced strength, he easily swings it and releases a powerful wave of energy. The king is surprised. He never expected Noor to handle the two-handed sword with just one hand. The king then asks Noor for one more favor. He requests that Noor, if he is willing, train Lindbergh. With the unrest happening everywhere, the king believes it would be good for Lindbergh to learn from Noor. He thinks being by Noor's side will help her grow stronger. Noor feels confused by this request. He thinks he has little to teach since he himself is weak. He believes these matters should be decided by the people involved and that parents should not interfere too much. This idea makes the king smile and he decides to leave the choice up to Lindbergh herself. Noor says his goodbyes to the king. On his way back, he holds the greatsword in his hand. The sword is very heavy, but Noor thinks it will be great for training. He also notices that the width of the sword is about the same as the drainage ditch at his grandmother's house. He imagines if he used the sword to clean the ditch, it would definitely make the job much faster and more efficient. Maybe he should open a new business, sword-powered plumbing. Just then, a man with blonde hair steps in front of him, blocking his path. The man introduces himself as Gilbert and says that he wants to see Noor's strength for himself. Gilbert insists on having a mock duel with Noor. The fight begins and Noor easily dodges or blocks every single strike. He assumes that Gilbert must be holding back. Meanwhile, Gilbert is completely stunned. Noor's speed and precision are far beyond anything he expected. Gilbert struggles to keep up, realizing that Noor is no ordinary opponent. Then, out of nowhere, Noor stops and declares Gilbert the winner. Noor genuinely believes he would have lost if the duel had continued. Gilbert, on the other hand, is humiliated. He knows he was soundly beaten, but cannot figure out how Noor's movements cracked the stone floor beneath them. Noor feels disappointed as well. He assumes that Gilbert went easy on him because of his supposed weakness. Only Noor could dominate a duel and still convince himself he's the underdog. Feeling down, Noor returns to his work. He picks up the king's massive sword, which is far too heavy for most to wield. As he inspects it, an idea strikes him. The sword's size and weight make it perfect for clearing sewers. He smiles slightly, finding satisfaction putting it to practical use. Later, Lin tracks Noor down. This time, she asks to become his page. She wants to learn from him and seems determined to stay at his side no matter what. Noor refuses immediately, convinced he has nothing worth teaching her. To prove his point, he demonstrates a few level 1 magic skills he learned during his time at adventurer school. The skills are simple, and he believes they are nothing special. However, Lin suddenly has an epiphany. She remembers her teacher, Professor Oken, once telling her that only those who train for a lifetime can produce even a small flame of this size. Watching Noor effortlessly conjure a flame far greater than her teacher ever managed leaves her completely stunned. She cannot believe what she is seeing. It dawns on her that Noor is not just strong, he is operating on a level beyond anything she imagined. What Noor doesn't realize is that over time he has refined these basic skills so much that he's even surpassed Professor Oken, the royal magician. Noor probably thinks these skills are like the beginner level in a video game, but in reality they are OP. Lin decides that she needs to learn from him. She knows that if she is to become queen one day, she will need all the knowledge and strength she can get. Refusing to accept Noor's rejection, Lin swears that she will follow him wherever he goes until she uncovers the secret to his strength. It looks like Noor won't be getting much alone time for a while. Rin is stunned when he learns the king gave Noor the Black Blade, a legendary sword retrieved from the deepest level of the dungeon. Even though the sword is heavily damaged, it retains its extraordinary powers. The blade is immune to both physical and magical attacks, making it one of the most valuable weapons in existence. Rin concludes that the king must have enormous plans for Noor and expects him to accomplish something significant. Meanwhile, Noor continues to look for another labor job, unaware of the weight of the sword on his back. With Lin, a B-rank adventurer, accompanying him, the guild assigned them a task more suited to her rank. Instead of clearing rubble, they are sent to hunt goblins outside the city. Noor feels a mix of excitement and guilt. He assumes the only reason they got the job was because of Lin's rank. He worries he's just riding her coattails, but his eagerness to prove himself overrides the doubt. In the forest, Noor and Lin stumble upon something extraordinary. They encounter an extremely rare goblin emperor. Noor, having never seen a goblin before, thinks it's just an ordinary one. Determined to show he is as capable as any other adventurer, he charges into the fight with full confidence. Noor probably believes he's about to crush some random goblin, blissfully unaware he's picking a fight with the goblin equivalent of a royal guard. Lin completely misreads Noor's excitement. She assumes he already knows about the Goblin Emperor and has charged in to eliminate it before it can harm other adventurers. Believing he's acting out of selfless bravery, Lin decides to join him in the fight rather than stop him. Together, they manage to bring down the Goblin Emperor. Noor delivers a perfectly placed strike, knocking the Mana Stone loose from his forehead. This gives Lin the opening to finish the battle with a blast of fire. Their teamwork ensures victory. Noor, however, remains oblivious to the rarity of the monster they just defeated. He feels a small sense of pride in their combined effort, but leaves the fight disappointed. He assumes he is still too weak since he couldn't defeat what he believes to be a regular goblin on his own. If ignorance is bliss, Noor might just be the happiest guy to ever slay a legendary creature. Rin, on the other hand, sees things differently. He suspects the Goblin Emperor's appearance is not random. His instincts tell him it could be part of a larger and more sinister plan. He begins to wonder if the Doritas Empire is behind it, possibly attempting to assassinate key figures once again. Rin's mind races, always searching for hidden threats and connections. When Noor and Lin return to the guild, Noor casually reports that they killed one goblin. The guild, however, informs them they won't get paid. Without a body as proof, the remains having been burned, they cannot confirm the job was completed. Noor, unfazed, moves on, still convinced he has more to prove. Reem, seeing the signs of growing danger, begins preparing the country for a potential invasion by the Doritas Empire. To protect the kingdom and ensure its readiness, he sends Noor, Ains, and Lin on a mission to scout the Toros Mountains. However, this mission is not as simple as it seems. Reem's real goal is to secure Lin's safe escape to the Mithra theocracy, a nation they can trust as an ally. During the journey, Ains reflects on her childhood. She remembers discovering her holy shield power and training under her foster father, Sir Dandal. She often overheard him praising a man named Noor, which always left a sting. No matter how much she tried to ignore it, jealousy would creep in. She realizes she is just a sidekick. Meeting Noor in person does nothing to help. Her jealousy only grows. Despite her best efforts to find fault in him, she struggles to understand why he garners so much admiration. To her, Noor seems like just an ordinary man. She finds it frustrating to see him praised while she works tirelessly, always feeling like she's in the background. Meanwhile, back in the city, monsters are attacking, creating widespread panic. However, Noor and the group face a different and equally dangerous challenge in the Toros Mountains. They encounter a black death dragon, a monstrous creature of legend being controlled by a young demon folk boy. Ains immediately views the boy as a threat. Generations of conflict between humans and demon folk fuel her suspicion. When the dragon suddenly breaks free from the boy's control, it becomes a threat to everyone present. Noor, however, completely misunderstands the situation. He rushes in to protect the boy, assuming the dragon is harmless. To Noor, it looks like nothing more than an oversized, weak frog. The dragon would have to do a lot more to convince him it's dangerous. Only Noor could look at a legendary beast of destruction and think, maybe it's just lost. Ains, on the other hand, feels the tension growing between the two races. She watches the situation closely, convinced the danger is far from over. Her instincts are proven right when the dragon's deadly poison begins to take its toll on Noor. His movements slow, and his body weakens. It becomes clear that he is in great pain. Ains, seeing no way out, tries to hold Lin back. She believes Noor is beyond saving. Survival seems impossible. But then something changes. As she watches Noor fight, Ains sees something she cannot ignore. Even though the poison ravages his body, Noor refuses to give up. His willpower drives him forward step after step against all odds. Ains feels a shift within herself. For the first time, she understands why Sir Dandal admired Noor so deeply. Instead of letting jealousy control her, she begins to see Noor in a new light. She realizes that being a true warrior is not about titles or skills, but about pushing forward, even when the odds are impossible. He's like the lead in an Indian movie. The boy has suffered abuse his entire life simply for being born a demon folk. He was promised freedom if he used his powers to attack the kingdom. Now, after losing control of the dragon, he stands frozen in shock. He cannot comprehend why Noor, who is also poisoned and clearly struggling, would put himself at risk to protect him. Noor, on the verge of collapse, begins using healing magic on the boy. His movements are slow and each breath seems more difficult than the last, but he refuses to stop. A flashback reveals the strange reason behind Noor's resilience. As a child, he accidentally poisoned himself. Instead of being afraid, he decided to lean into the chaos. He poisoned himself repeatedly over the years to build tolerance. Over time, this bizarre method worked, making him nearly immune to all toxins. Noor's childhood logic might not win awards, but it turned out to be surprisingly effective. Back in the present, Noor uses this unique tolerance to neutralize the poison coursing through his body. Strength returns to him bit by bit. Once steady on his feet, he shifts his focus to the dragon, readying himself to face it head-on. The boy watches in stunned silence. Confusion fills his mind, but awe begins to creep in too. To the boy, Noor is unlike anyone he has ever seen. Noor's determination leaves him questioning everything he thought he knew about humans. Noor times his next move perfectly. He traps the dragon's mouth shut, forcing the poison gas to remain inside. The pressure builds rapidly, and the dragon struggles to contain it. Finally, the creature cannot hold it any longer. Its body explodes with a deafening blast, sending debris flying in all directions. Noor steps back and takes a deep breath. Relief washes over him, knowing the battle is finally over. Only Noor could turn a legendary dragon into an oversized firecracker. The boy watches the scene unfold and feels a wave of guilt crash over him. He tries to explain that he brought the dragon to start a war. Noor, however, completely misinterprets the situation. He jumps to an entirely different conclusion. He assumes the boy was transporting a poisonous frog to the kingdom to sell as exotic meat. Noor even starts wondering if the boy is some sort of magical chef with big plans for rare cuisine. Noor doesn't dwell on the boy's intent for long. Instead, he focuses on the boy's potential. He sees the boy's demon folk abilities as something extraordinary. In Noor's mind, ignoring those unique skills would be a waste. Lin, however, takes a different view. She feels uneasy and distrusts the boy, especially after his involvement in the attack. Ain's, observing quietly, notices something deeper. She points out the signs of the boy's tragic history. She recognizes that the boy, Rollo, was raised as a slave and trained to fight as a child soldier. Each detail makes it clearer to her how much the boy has suffered. She feels strongly that they cannot abandon him. Lin insists on taking Rollo with them, even though demon folk are strictly forbidden from entering the Mithra theocracy. She believes the risk is worth it. In her heart, she knows Rollo deserves a chance to experience freedom for the first time in his life. Rules be damned, Lin figures the Mithra theocracy can deal with one extra citizen. But before they can settle on a concrete plan, a mysterious figure steps out from the shadows. He looks like a B-grade assassin from a C-grade Korean movie. However, his presence feels heavy, like a storm about to break. The stranger makes his grim intention clear. He has come to take Rollo's life and return his corpse to the boy's former owners. Noor fights desperately to protect Rollo, but struggles to keep up with the man's swift and deadly attacks. Every move feels like a near miss, and Noor knows he is barely holding on. Ain's watches closely and quickly recognizes the stranger. She identifies him as Deadman Saitou, an infamous S-rank adventurer. Saitou is both feared and hated for his actions. While he has completed some of the most dangerous high-level quests, he is also responsible for terrible crimes. He once destroyed an entire country, killing its soldiers and even slaughtering the royal family. His immense wealth and unmatched abilities have made him untouchable. Governments declared him dead just to avoid dealing with him. The battle grows fiercer. Saitou's daggers, even those crafted from mithril and dragon teeth, shatter against the mysterious sword of Noor. Frustrated, Saitou pulls out his ultimate weapon, Silver Cross, a weapon created through dwarven alchemy. Silver Cross is no ordinary weapon. It splits into hundreds of knives at once, launching a deadly barrage of strikes in every direction. Noor tightens his grip on his sword and prepares to defend himself. The overwhelming speed and force of the knives make it clear that Saitou isn't holding back anymore. Ain steps forward and activates her holy shield. The glowing barrier stops the deadly barrage from Silver Cross, protecting Noor from the knives flying toward him. Noor sees an opportunity and acts quickly. He grabs teeth from the Death Dragon and uses them to block and counter Saitou's strikes. Each motion is sharp and deliberate. Silver Cross, once thought to be unbreakable, shatters under Noor's precise movements. Saitou stares at the remains of his weapon. Without a blade, he chooses to retreat, but not before delivering a chilling warning. He tells the group that something dangerous is happening in the royal capital. His tone is calm but unsettling, leaving the group uneasy. Once Saitou disappears, Rollo speaks up, confirming the group's fears. He explains that another demon folk is leading a monster far stronger than the dragon they just fought. This new creature is heading straight for the capital with destruction in mind. Noor, Ains, Lin, and Rollo waste no time and begin their journey back to the city. Lin feels a strange sense of hope. Despite the danger, she is confident that Noor will be the one to save them all. Noor, on the other hand, is probably wondering when he'll finally get to eat something other than monster teeth. In the capital, Reem watches the sky. He sees the enormous dragon of calamity descending toward the city. The creature's shadow spreads over the buildings and streets, making everything feel small and powerless. Reem stands frozen, realizing that this is no ordinary threat. The battle ahead will test every bit of their strength and courage. Reem quickly works to start an evacuation of the capital. He sends orders to clear the streets and guide citizens to safety, but his efforts are stopped by magic. Someone blocks the roads with barriers, trapping the people inside the city. The situation grows worse. The Sovereign Six, the kingdom's strongest adventurers, are all away on distant quests and cannot return in time to help. Fear spreads quickly, and chaos breaks out in the streets. Despite the panic, Noor stays unusually calm. He looks at the titanic dragon of calamity and decides that it is probably no stronger than the Goblin Emperor. He believes it should be an easy fight. To Noor, this might just be a bigger frog with wings. Lin's father watches the destruction and struggles to believe that King Doritas would go this far just to seize control of their dungeon. Unable to sit by and do nothing, he decides to take action. He walks toward the dragon, determined to at least blind the creature and give his people a chance to escape, even if it costs him his life. Meanwhile, Inz and Lin work together to create a powerful spell. They know Noor is the only one who can fight the dragon, so they focus their magic to send him back to the city as fast as possible. The spell is a success, but there is one major downside. Noor has no control over his speed or direction. Noor rockets through the sky faster than anything anyone has ever seen. He crashes directly into the dragon's head with a massive impact. The collision is so strong that the ground shakes and the dragon roars in pain. Noor stands firm despite the enormous size and overwhelming presence of the dragon. He meets each attack head-on, parrying the dragon's strikes with ease. Every blow he lands chips away at the dragon's claws and scales, making them crumble as if they were no more than paper. The creature roars in frustration, thrashing harder, but Noor's strength holds steady. While this intense battle continues, Rollo fights alongside Eames and Lin to defend the city. An army of goblins has joined the chaos, and Rollo uses his demonfolk powers to help hold them back. He works quickly and effectively, surprising even himself with his abilities. Rollo begins to sense the dragon's deep pride through its presence. The beast is becoming more and more frustrated. It is clear that the dragon is not used to being treated like a minor threat. Noor's calm and precise strikes only enrage it further. Then Noor delivers a powerful counterattack. With one perfectly timed parry, he snaps one of the dragon's massive fangs. The shattered fang falls to the ground with a thunderous crash, shaking the battlefield. The dragon reels back, stunned and humiliated. Rollo watches in amazement as the dragon stops fighting. He senses something unexpected. It is submitting to Noor. The mighty creature, once a symbol of unstoppable destruction, has lost its will to fight. Noor, completely unaware of the situation, assumes the dragon stopped fighting because Rollo must have commanded it. When Rollo translates the dragon's words, he explains that the beast now sees Noor as its master. Noor misunderstands and thinks the dragon means Rollo. Without a second thought, Noor simply tells the dragon to go home. The dragon obeys. It spreads its massive wings and flies away, disappearing into the sky. However, its retreat is short-lived. Moments later, a powerful mana cannon strikes the dragon, sending it crashing to the ground. King Dorita's army has moved into position to attack the city. The cannon fires again, this time aimed at Lin, Ainz, and most importantly, Ainz's holy shield, which Dorita sees as a major threat. Noor steps in at the last moment, moving with effortless precision. He parries the deadly mana blast, redirecting it harmlessly into the sky. The sheer ease with which Noor deflects the attack leaves everyone stunned. Noor, however, casually wonders if this mana thing is supposed to be dangerous because it felt more like a light breeze. Lin and Ainz quickly recover and decide to act. They combine their magic again, using their high-speed spell to launch Noor directly at the enemy army. The spell works perfectly, sending Noor flying like a human cannonball toward the forces of King Dorita's. Just as Noor rockets toward them, he parries thousands of swords into the air with a single sweeping motion. The swords hang for a moment before crashing back to the ground. By sheer chance, they land on the soldiers of Dorita's, taking out half of the army. King Dorita's watches the scene unfold with growing horror. His eyes lock on Noor, who wields the black blade effortlessly. This is the same weapon Dorita spent years scheming to obtain, the centerpiece of his entire plan to seize the dungeon. Even Lin's father, the Hero King, needed both hands to lift the sword because of its immense weight. Yet Noor swings it casually with one hand as though it weighs nothing. For the first time, Dorita realizes the true nature of the man standing before him. Noor is not just strong, he might be the most dangerous person alive. The thought chills him to the core. Overwhelmed by fear, Dorita loses all composure. Standing in front of his entire army, he wets himself, his humiliation plain for all to see. Unable to handle the pressure, Dorita turns and flees the battlefield, his pride shattered. His army, left leaderless and confused, falls into disarray. Noor's actions not only save the city but leave the once mighty Dorita as a figure of ridicule. Following the humiliating retreat of King Dorita, a flashback reveals that Noor, during the battle, was actually focused only on disarming the soldiers, completely unaware that Dorita was the enemy commander. In fact, Noor thought Dorita was just a harmless old man. The terrifying expression that drove Dorita to flee was, in truth, Noor trying to give a reassuring smile. Exhaustion had twisted his face into something monstrous. Noor, having pushed himself far beyond his limits, nearly collapses after the battle. Just as he starts to fall, Gilbert arrives with his master, Sig, one of the Sovereign Six, to catch him. It is then revealed that the Sovereign Six are not only legendary adventurers but also instructors at the adventurer training schools. Noor had unknowingly been trained by all 6 of them at different points in his life. Despite Noor failing out of every school he attended, each member of the Sovereign Six remembers him fondly. They had all been quietly impressed by his progress and unique approach, even if they never said it out loud. While the group regrets that Dorita managed to escape, Noor suddenly brightens with an idea to catch him. The group reaches the dragon, which has somehow survived the mana cannon blast. Sovereign Scene uses healing magic to restore its strength. After recovering, the dragon agrees to help them track down Dorita. Noor once again assumes that Rollo's demonfolk powers convince the dragon to cooperate. He doesn't realize the dragon is simply impressed by his strength and courage. With the dragon leading the way, the group prepares to hunt down Doredas. They are soon joined by Sovereigns Karuk and Rin, adding even more strength to their team. Together, they set off in pursuit of the fleeing king, determined to stop him before he can regroup. Before they depart, Sig shares a quiet moment with Sovereign Dandog. He expresses his pride in Noor, reflecting on how the boy who failed so many times has grown into someone far greater than they ever imagined. Dandog agrees, marveling at Noor's progress. They both realize that Noor has already surpassed the Sovereign Six in strength and determination. It's time for the Sovereign Six to start taking lessons from Noor instead. The chase leads the group over the border and into the Empire's territory. The journey is tense and danger seems to loom over every step. However, amid the chaos and urgency, no one notices one critical detail. Noor, completely drained from the battle and his efforts, has fallen asleep. Perhaps the group assumes Noor is meditating. Doredas finally reaches his castle and wastes no time. He orders the activation of a massive mana cannon, far larger and more devastating than the first, designed to automatically target the dragon's immense mana signature. Engineers and mages scramble to bring the colossal weapon to life, its machinery wearing ominously as arcs of raw energy course through its conduits. Moments later, the cannon roars to life, unleashing a devastating beam of concentrated mana meant to obliterate the dragon in one fell swoop. Noor, quick to react, steps in without hesitation. Leaping from the dragon's back, he positions himself in the path of the beam, his sword drawn. With an explosive clash, he parries the blast midair, splitting the attack into countless shards of unstable energy. These fragments, now out of control, veer wildly through the air before crashing into the Empire's mana generators scattered across the city. The explosions that follow are deafening one after another as the generators overload and detonate. In an instant, the entire city's power grid collapses, plunging the once mighty capital into darkness. Amid the chaos, Noor's situation takes an unexpected turn. Just as he begins to retreat to the dragon's side, a sudden gust of wind throws him off balance. He loses his grip and hurtles downward, spiraling toward the castle below. With a crash that shakes the very foundations of the structure, he smashes through the roof, landing directly in the throne room. Noor's landing is perfectly timed, though entirely unplanned. Doredas' generals, frustrated by their leader's repeated failures, have decided to take matters into their own hands. Swords drawn and voices raised, they circle Doredas, intent on ending his reign. Noor, dazed and confused, finds himself in the middle of the unfolding coup. Acting purely on instinct, he parries every attack that comes his way. His movements are swift and precise, disarming the would-be assassins without even realizing he's just saved Doredas from certain death. The throne room descends into an uneasy silence as the chaos subsides. Before anyone can react further, the others arrive, landing with precision and taking immediate control of the situation. Rin steps forward, his cold gaze fixed on Doredas. The room grows tense as Rin recounts the atrocities committed during the invasion. His voice carries the weight of justice, unshaken by the fear that grips Doredas. Rin does not spare words. He holds Doredas personally accountable for the deaths of 127 citizens, each life snuffed out during his reckless campaign. The generals, once loyal to Doredas, exchange glances but do not protest. When Rin delivers his sentence, there is no opposition. Doredas will endure the same 127 deaths he caused, each one more gruesome than the last. With Sai's healing magic ensuring his survival, Doredas is doomed to experience every ounce of pain he inflicted, unable to escape through death. His screams echo through the castle as the generals silently turn their backs on their former leader. Leadership of the Empire falls to Doredas' young grandson. Though the boy is too young to rule, the task is entrusted to Randius, the head of the generals. With the chaos finally at an end, Randius expresses his gratitude to Rin and the others. He vows to usher in a new era of peace and cooperation between the Empire and the kingdom, leaving behind the dark days of war and suffering. Upon their return home, the king calls for a grand celebration in honor of the group's heroics. He insists on rewarding Noor for his bravery and unwavering resolve. Noor, ever humble, makes a simple request: citizenship for Rollo. This surprises the court, as granting citizenship to a demonfolk is a bold move that could provoke backlash, particularly from the Mithra holy theocracy. Yet the king does not hesitate. Recognizing the importance of Noor's deeds, he agrees. With his new status as a citizen, Rollo is sent to live with Ains. For the first time in his life, he sleeps in a real bed, eats delicious food, and experiences kindness without suspicion. His shy smile speaks volumes, a sign of hope for a future where such gestures are no longer extraordinary. As Noor watches from a distance, Noor reflects on his time training under the Sovereign Six back when they were his instructors at the adventurer schools. Sig, who trained him as a swordsman, was in awe of Noor's raw potential. The way Noor could predict and counter strikes was nothing short of phenomenal. Sig often joked that Noor had a sixth sense for danger. However, despite his incredible talent, Sig had no choice but to fail him. Noor's only mastered skill was parry, and while impressive, it wasn't enough to graduate. A one-trick pony, no matter how good the trick, still only knows one trick. Sig wished Noor would find his stride elsewhere, but secretly, he doubted Noor would fit in anywhere. Dandel trained Noor as a warrior and was stunned by his sheer strength. While others struggled to lift their training weapons, Noor could swing them like toys. Dandel even brought out an old relic, a battle hammer so heavy it had been retired as impractical. Noor wielded it effortlessly, smashing training dummies into splinters. But for all his power, Noor never unlocked a single warrior-specific skill. He had strength but lacked the finesse to channel it into a warrior's discipline. Dandel had no choice but to fail him too, though it pained him to do so. "Strength without control is just chaos," he muttered as Noor left the training grounds. Mayan took over next, convinced Noor's accuracy could make him an incredible archer. She tested him by throwing objects into the air, which Noor struck every time with uncanny precision. If there were a skill for turning apples into applesauce mid-flight, Noor would have been a legend, but every bow he touched snapped in half under his overwhelming strength. Even the strongest bowstrings couldn't withstand his pull, turning Mayan's archery sessions into a series of unfortunate accidents. In the end, she had no choice but to fail him. Bows are meant to shoot arrows, not serve as disposable toothpicks. Mayan wondered if there was any tool in the world that could handle Noor's power. Karoo, the master thief, was next in line. He admired Noor's persistence, noting that the boy never gave up no matter how many times he failed. But persistence wasn't enough to make up for Noor's complete lack of stealth. His footsteps were like thunder, his movements as subtle as a crashing wave. No matter how hard Karoo tried, Noor couldn't grasp the essence of being unseen. A thief that can't be stealthy is just a burglar with bad luck. Karoo sighed as he failed Noor. 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐀, convinced Noor had hidden magical potential, decided to train him in spellcasting. Magic required focus and patience, and 𝐃𝐈𝐿𝐿 was sure Noor could learn it. Unfortunately, Noor's mana reserves were so low that he could barely manage basic spells. Even the simplest incantations left him exhausted. He failed that class too, leaving 𝐃𝐈𝐿 scratching his head. "You're like a candle in the wind, Noor. Bright for a moment, but out before you've truly started." Steen initially refused to train Noor, arguing that a healer's path was impossible without the healer's blessing. Noor, ever persistent, refused to give up. "Blessing or not, I'll figure it out," he declared. Eventually, Saiin agreed to teach him, mostly out of curiosity. To Saiin's shock, Noor managed to learn Low Heal, a basic healing skill, entirely on his own. It was both impressive and mildly annoying. "It's like you build a house with nothing but sticks and gum," Saiin muttered. Noor grinned, oblivious to Saiin's mixed emotions. By the time the Sovereign Six realized Noor's true potential and decided to train him together, it was too late. Noor had already left the schools, determined to pursue his own path. "If the traditional way doesn't work for me, I'll make my own way," he told them before departing. Back at the guild, Noor remains blissfully unaware of the kingdom-wide chaos he has just prevented. The guildmaster, equally clueless, assigns Noor another mundane task, clearing rubble from an old well. Noor takes the job in stride, dreaming of the day he'll finally go on a real adventure. Meanwhile, the king grows increasingly suspicious that the Mithra theocracy might have been behind Dorida's invasion. He fears that another war could be on the horizon, but feels confident knowing he can rely on Noor to turn the tide when the time comes. The king chuckles to himself, wondering if Noor even realizes what he's capable of. As for Noor, he continues to dream about becoming the hero he's always wanted to be. Someone should probably tell him he's already got the job. He just skipped the ceremony. For now, he's content with his small tasks, unaware of the legend he's already becoming. And that's it for today. If you enjoyed this story, drop a comment below. Like the video and hit subscribe, because every hero needs a sidekick, and we'd love to have you along for the ride.